Hello, everyone. This is Carla from Rehan Alawala's World of Connections and also from the Ministry of English Literacy for Pakistan and the Insan Party, which means humanity. The reason we're using this platform today is because we are going to be speaking with Rosalyn Kahn from the USA in LA, and we're going to be listening to what she has learned teaching English as second language speakers. I am extremely excited about this. She has been a TEDx speaker 3 times, I believe, and now I have her on my stage as a speaker and will be a speaker for the Ministry of English for English Literacy on August 8th and or 9th in our conference about improving English literacy, mainly in Pakistan, but also around the world. This show is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace one conversation at a time. Rosalind, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Rosalyn Kahn. It's truly an honor to be here on this platform, and I'm really excited to be here. I, as you mentioned, have spoken on the TED stage. I've written several books. They're all about helping people feel better about themselves. But, in my life, my greatest passion is a college instructor. And one of my by far favorite classes to teach was English as a second language. So I'm really excited to be on this platform today, sharing with you some of the things I learned about technology and how we can help people master that English language.
Wonderful. Just so they know that you are a normal person, can you talk a little about your life and what you've done through your life?
Certainly. Well, I was one of 7 kids growing up in San Diego, which was very close to the Mexican border. And so my mother taught me at a very young age the importance of being able to speak several languages. And so I grew up, and my job was to help the help in our house to speak Spanish and let them know what was going on. And I've always been very interested in culture and what cultures are all about. When I was in ninth grade, I had an opportunity to go to Mexico so I could practice my Spanish language skills. And when I got to college, after taking 3.5 years in high school, I learned that my Spanish was not so good because I didn't learn the correct innuendos of language and things like that. But I always said if there was a building burning, people would go out and they'd survive. Um, Beyond that, I graduated for 3 years, college in 3 years. Then I went on, and I've had many different things in my career that I've done. Not all of them were the best things, but we make the best in life. I sold commercial time for a Spanish language radio station because my ambition was to get in advertising, use that Spanish skills there. I worked in a company called Rentline where I was doing stuff in the rental world. I then got involved in working as a nonprofit, following what I loved and up with people, but found that the nonprofit was not as nice as the for-profit world, and have ended up in the field of academia for the last 2 decades. And, I coach people on the art of public speaking, but I'm always helping people improve their English language skills because language is the key to life and communication is really what we all need to do. And I always say that every day is not a perfect day. So just to give you a shadow of how life isn't perfect, before I was on this call, I was trying to solidify a problem with the company that I work with, and the technology wasn't working on one end, the technology wasn't working on the other end, and I had to get on this call, and miraculously it all worked off. We closed off call 1, closed off call 2, and here we are. So me too. I have technology fun too. So that's what it's all about.
Yes, life is always changing, and life is always giving us things to climb over, obstacles. And
Right.
it appears from looking at your face, you're smiling, that you did that almost seamlessly. And I also had to go out, walk the dog, and get back. you, so I was literally everything's cool. So,
Great.
Rosalind, how did you end up teaching English? What got you to this point?
Well, it was really interesting on how I became an English as a second language teacher. And I remember trying to get into the community colleges, and one of my colleagues had said the best way to get to the become a college teacher was to meet this. It was a book buyer who told me to go find the teacher in this bungalow. And my real selling point was I had taught English in public in the private industry. And so I was working with people in the manufacturing companies and teaching them the language skills so they could produce better medical quality products. I was teaching people in a manufacturing company that worked in the automotive fields. I was teaching them English language skills. I was teaching people in the restaurant. And so I just love people from different cultures. And so when I approached the college, the first thing I said was my vast arena of working in private industry and all these different places and personalities. And it was well received. And so for many years, I absolutely loved teaching conversational English. There was one class that we had that we would just get together in a circle, and it was kind of like imagine in America we have show and tell, but they'd pick a topic from the media and we would talk about, what do you think about the coronavirus? Is it real? Is it false? What do you think about what's going on with the new Olympics? Is that something we should celebrate or not celebrate? And just based on the topic, we would have a stream of conscious talking. And then I got to working with people at the very beginning, which we'd call English 70 in the class. And that's, the kind of highs, how are you, what's happening, and basic rudimentary conversation. I would get in the next level and, there might be a few more verbs. And they would always tell me, Rosalind, slow down. You're speaking too fast. And so I've got to slow down because I know people are trying to follow what I'm saying. But at the highest level, I would teach people research skills. And so at one point you'll see on my school webpage, which is speechsuccess.net, there's actually pictures of my college classroom where we would have parties at the end and bring in all sorts of food. But I also had them do research projects, and they would learn the elements of research. And back when Gore was running for president and there was that controversy and what happened, my students decided they wanted to look at that controversy and see what was going on and happening. Um, and so I taught them that the best way to learn is to learn how to use the resources on the computer. And one of the things I must alert people to is there's good information and bad information. But I can tell you one of my favorite things at the college I work for at LA City College. There's a page about the librarians, and they have 24/7. You can ask any librarian around the world any question or information. And so I think one of the keys to learning English is exposure. And so I would tell my students, I want you to go and listen to English language television. And you can stream shows of I Love Lucy, which is really a funny American comedy. And just by the expressions on the people's faces and watching what they're doing, you can figure out what's going on. And there's a saying about learning language, and I want to share this with you. One of my gifts of learning language was at a very young age. I was exposed to several different languages. I had English growing up, but as a youngster, I come from a Jewish background, and I went to Hebrew school. So at the age of 6, 7, 8, ani medaberet kitzad ivrit, I speak a little bit of Hebrew. And I'd also learned the Spanish skills. And as a youngster, if there are people who are here who have youngsters who are watching, it's a great time to get those skills up and going. But a second thing I would tell you about the acquisition of the English language is in order to have a second language, you must have mastered the basic skills to about the level of a 12-year-old. And that is really critical and key to the knowledge. But as a friend of mine said, if there's a will, there's a way. And he was talking about learning the Japanese language. And he said, make it have fun. Make it fun. So in one of the modalities we'd say is if you say something 7 times, you cement it into the language. And I want you to watch as I say the word hello. Okay? So I'm opening my mouth and I'm going, hello. The tongue comes through and the O comes out. So let's again, hello. Again, hello. Again, hello. See how the tongue comes out and we're pressing that through? Hello. That's 4. Hello. And you're kind of almost biting, but not too tight. Hello. That's number 6. Hello. And we'll say that's number 7. And so if you repeat something, it's really a great way to get that language down. Another thing I like to teach in learning the language is how we break things up in syllables. And I have this thing that my 3rd grade teacher taught me, and I'm going to teach you how to say this word. It's geography. And she told us a story. George eats old gray rats and pitches Harry yonder. And so ridiculous words that you would say, but we're going to practice saying these words. George. One, repeat the same. George. Okay? And then we have very good.
Do you want me to repeat it too? Or?
Sure. We can have it like we're practicing with each other. So we're practicing the different sounds. And one of the keys is that you need to open up your mouth really wide and you want to exaggerate. So repeat after me. We get the ja, the tongue is behind the teeth and we're kind of pushing the air. George.
George.
Right. George.
George.
So it's almost like you're opening your mouth. It's almost as if you're going to give someone a kiss. So it's ja or ja. Like in, out, George. George.
George.
George. Okay?
George.
Very good. Now, the next letter of that word is E. Now, everyone say the word E and bring that big smile. E.
E.
And we're going to say the word eats.
Eats.
Nice big smile. Eats.
Eats.
Good. And he eats old.
He eats old.
And in order to make the old sound, we bring the lips together. Old. And the tongue comes up by the palate, and we're saying old.
Old.
Okay, now the next word might be hard because I don't know the difficulties you have. So we're going to pretend that this is a hard sound. We're going to say gra.
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 Say it again. Gra.
Gra.
Gra, 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 gra.
Gra.
Okay, so different languages have different abilities on putting words together. And that gra sound is how we begin the sound of gray. So say gra.
Gra.
A.
A.
And we put that together. Gra A.
Gra A.
So let's remind us what we have. George eats old gray. Say it together. George
eats old
gray. Okay. Now we're going to go with the first sound in the English alphabet, and that's A. Grades eats old gray rats.
Rats.
Rats. Rats.
Rats.
Okay, so let's do it again. George eats old
gray
rats. Good. You're doing awesome. You got some great pronunciation there. And. So that's really short. That's the a, and you put the n and the d. And. Pitches.
Pitches.
P.
Ch.
Is.
P.
I. Ch. Is. And so we break things up into the different syllables until we can get the sounds and bring them all together. So now let's listen to how it sounds together. Pitches. Okay, and then we're going to take the H, and the H sometimes is silent. It's almost like you don't even say it. And so we go, just pretend like you're going hachu. Hachu. And that same little H is Harry. We don't want to breathe. You made that too heavy. So it's kind of like open the mouth and go, Harry. Right. Open and nice soft H like you want to make it silent. Harry. Okay, good. George. Eats. Old. Gray. Rats. And. Pitches. Harry. Now we're going to say the word like, you hate how something tastes in it. In English, we say the word yucky. Say yucky. Yucky. And we're going to use that y sound to say the word yonder. Yonder. So altogether we have George. Eats. Old. Gray. Rats. And. Pitches. Harry. Yonder. So in this short exercise, we've learned how to spell a word based on coming up with a seemingly meaningless sentence. But now let's put the word all together. When we say that word, the word is pronounced G, A, gra, Fee. G, A, gra, Fee. So we can see in this simple exercise, one of the keys is being able to pronounce the different sounds, coming up with a sentence that's seemingly meaningless, but when you put it together, you can remember, and then putting the words all together. Now, another thing we can do in learning the English language is practice the sounds. And my niece taught me this, and it's a way that we can warm up our vocal cords. So I want everyone to go ahead and open up their mouth and go ahead and say the word ah. Next one is eh. And you pull the lips all the way back, the tongue drops down, eh. The tongue is going to the bottom of the mouth, and then we say ee. So you're pulling the lips apart, e, and the tongue is going up to the top, e. O. Ooh. A. E. I. O. U. Okay. Now another.
I have a question, and I don't want to keep close off your train of thought. I have been trained the Linda Mood phonemic awareness, which is slightly different from what you do.
Say that again.
The Linda Mood um, the LIPS program, the Linden Mood Phonemic Awareness Program. Do you know of that? I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, and so I'm just talking about things that I had done in my class that
Yeah,
that worked really well through my 10 plus years of teaching. And one of the things I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember as a young girl learning Farazaka? That song Farazaka, don't make
Farajaka, Farajaka,
Farazaka,
Dormation.
yeah, and so the whole point and the purpose of that is through songs we can learn another language. So as an American, many of us were taught this French song so we could say that we learned how to speak French. Now, a really fun thing that we did is I like singing as a way to teach people languages. And there's a child song that was called Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So let's
Right.
practice. Let's practice this. And when you have groups of people, it's really fun saying, "Okay, you're going to go first. You're going to go second. You're going to go third," and putting it in the chorus, and it just makes it beautiful. And we won't be able to do that with the two of us here, but
No.
let's practice those sounds here. Let's say row.
Row, row, row.
No, we got to go. They don't know the song, so we got to teach them. The first word is row,
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 row.
row.
So we say row 3 times. Your boat.
Your boat.
Row, row, row your boat. Next word is
row, row your boat.
And the next word is gently.
Gently.
Down.
Down.
The stream.
The stream.
And the next part is merrily.
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 What a life could row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily,
What a merrily.
Life is but a dream.
Life is but a dream.
So let's sing that together one time. Here we go. You ready? I'm not a singer.
No, but I'll do it.
Okay, together. Here we go. Row,
row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily,
life is but a dream. Okay, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to tell you after I get to a certain point, you're going to come in so we get to hear it with 2 people. Okay, you ready? Okay, so be quiet.
I always got confused when this was done.
Okay, so when I get gently, when I get to down the stream, you're going to go ahead and start, and I'll point at you. Okay, so hold, row, row, row your boat gently.
Row, row your boat.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And so she would be going ahead and singing on the other side. But it's a fun thing that you can play with little kids and so on and so forth. But back to technology, as I started. So technology gives us great things, and you can go ahead and you can watch television shows. You can listen to English radio. You can listen to TED Talks and look for me, Rosalyn Kahn, and you can see my TED Talks. But they're really interesting things. And what you want to find is you want to spend about a half an hour every day. And you want to practice with someone who is hopefully a native speaker of the English language. There's all sorts of tutors that you can go to online, and many of them offer some classes that I think are virtually free of people who just want to practice the language. And I would say that there's very difference between a British language of speaking the English language and American language, and you can kind of hear a certain diction. So if your goal is to speak it as an American, then you want to watch American type television shows. And those are some interesting philosophies about technology and about learning the English language.
And I think that's rather cool. Do you also tell people that you told people that it's good to do, shows like come to my English show or go to a room in Clubhouse where you can speak English?
Right. Assuming that they have the app that they can get on Clubhouse, because I'm one of those people that don't have Clubhouse, can't get on Clubhouse, and my husband doesn't let me use the phone, so I'm not a Clubhouse user, so I don't know. So not everybody has Clubhouse, but there was this book series. I can't remember what it was, but it was an example of people in a restaurant, and it was a restaurant series of how they could go into a restaurant and order food, and the things that would happen in a restaurant, and things that would happen. There's also you could go online and look at questions of how to go to a doctor's office, how to order food at a restaurant, and you could look at these simple conversations about how to introduce yourself. There's certain questions that they ask yourself on citizenship, and there's probably questions that you can look up to practice so that when you decide that you want to become a citizen, that you know the answers to those questions.
That's a really great idea. I've never thought about that.
Mhm.
And YouTube is a really good place to go and listen to English and get to knowing
Yeah,
English.
YouTube is a phenomenal platform, and you could, go look at a preschool class. And a preschool class is, just basically acquiring the English language, and listen to a kindergarten class and a first grade class, depending upon your levels of ability, and starting off very basics, and, the basics of the letters of the alphabets and the counting. And that would be a good place for a person to get started. But the thing I want to remember to remind people is it's fun. And my dog agrees that it's fun too. He's letting us know he thinks it's fun. That he wants to let you know that when you have those hard and difficult times, remember to hug your puppy, because puppies always give you love, or your kitty cat or something like that. And we come through challenges, but we need to overcome those challenges in order to learn the English language. And if you think about it as a game, today I'm going to learn 5 new words in English, and whatever those 5 words are, maybe you'll learn the colors, 5 colors. Maybe you'll learn how to count to 5.
I was going to ask you, many people I have found, because I've been talking to people around the world for the past 4 years plus, that they are often looking for someone to speak with. They already are reading and writing English, which
Okay.
is much harder than speaking it.
Right.
So, in my philosophy or my thinking is, if you can read and write, you can speak, but you need that confidence. And what I suggest is that they come and speak with me or another English speaker in order to get used to speaking. How do you feel about that?
No, I think it's really important, and I'll give you an example, and you can tell me how it applies in these different countries. Um, One of the things I would do is I told my students how much I cared and concerned about their learning the English language, but you couldn't learn it just coming to class once or twice a week. So I encouraged my students to do volunteer work, and they would go to different professions, and they'd practice in a chiropractor's office. They'd practice in a dental and a public service office, and there were many different things. And I think in each of those countries, there are places that people speak English, and to become a volunteer in those organizations. Um, Maybe it's the English Office of Citizenship, or the English Office for Transfer, or something like that. Or there's a place that a lot of Americans go to speak English, and getting a job in there, or volunteering in those different businesses, so that they could get that chance to practice those languages. If you say they're already reading and writing, then it might be an opportunity to listen to someone that's spoken, and then write down what you thought you heard them say, and go back and see if you could answer those questions, or do a summary. What Rosalyn talked about in today's lecture was, she talked about sounds. She talked about how to say different words. She talked about different methods of learning, and what were some of the different examples. And so to be able to listen for content, and to remember what's said. And oftentimes it'll take 3 to 4 hours to transcribe a conversation. So it's really long, but you need to get used to listening and writing. And those are important skills to have.
And I agree with you because many times people think, oh, I want to speak, and they're anxious to speak, but they are not anxious to listen. And I have found myself beginning to really slow down my speech, one, so they can hear it, and two, so they keep on listening. Do you find that to be valuable?
It is so true. It's one of the essence of communication. I learned in something I was reading today that I was told that you should listen 75% and talk 25%. And so, before our conversation began today, you told me the tables will switch and I was going to be seeking 75%. You were going to be talking 25%. But we want to remember that in normal conversation, it's a two-way street, and you want to practice what's called active listening. And when we're talking about active listening is looking with your eyes, following, and you're tracking the words that are saying, making sure that you understood by asking clarifying questions, paraphrasing, and repeating the sentence that you've gone ahead and heard. And so a lot of times people are only listening to have the opportunity to speak back. And you want to listen to the whole sentence of what's being said so that people can then go ahead and respond.
Right. And that's my major concern, that most people don't listen enough to be able to respond. I've spoken to several teachers in Pakistan, and I'm very concerned about this, where I have clearly said something, like I'll say, I live in Washington, D.C., and their next sentence is, where are you from? And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I just told you that. Were you listening? And I repeat it again. So I think there's a need to be careful in saying that I am a teacher. You can say I am a coach, but to say I'm a teacher, we need to all learn to listen better than we are at the present moment.
Right. I mean, they say that the skill of listening is the one skill that most people, when I teach this in my class, don't remember a section or a series where they learn that ability. And it's the most important skill that we all have, is the skill to be able to listen and respond to what's being said to us.
And yet, most times, and I believe it includes us, we have still not learned how to listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't understand, we're still afraid to say, oh, I don't want to tell her I don't understand because she'll think I'm stupid. But that's not true. When you say I don't understand, you're opening up your mind to understand more.
Right. The most important question is the one that you get up and say that you don't understand. It gives the knowledge to you, and there's probably several other people that have the same question.
Right. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to tell? Because I know that you probably would like to go eat dinner soon.
Well, I think that the important thing to remember is life is a journey. It's not a destination. And the acquisition of learning the English language is something that takes place over time. And then I believe if we say to each other at the end of each day, I've learned enough, and be satisfied with whatever that was, then you're really going to have to learn. And you just take small little steps each day towards that big goal. And if you do it each day, then you can truly make that happen.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you so very much for your time. I look forward to speaking to you at the conference.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's truly been a privilege and an honor to speak to all the people here. And hopefully you've learned some great information. You can always look for my name over all social media platforms and you'll know where to find me. Thank you.
And we're looking forward to talking to you at the conference.
I can hardly wait.
And I want to thank everyone who watched, and especially Rosalyn for coming and speaking with me this evening. And to the Institute of Peace created by Rehan Alawawa for sponsoring this show. Have a great night, everyone, and let's wave goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.